Today, the carpenter's hands are nailed to a cross. The King of Kings is crowned with thorns and wears purple of mockery. Today, he sets us free, himself imprisoned on a tree. Today is God's Friday, and we come in worship. I'm Rob Hamilton, pastor here at the United Methodist Church of Geneva. On behalf of my colleagues, Pastor Melissa from Batavia and Pastor Tammy from Wesley Aurora, thank you for sharing in worship tonight, whether you're here on Hamilton Street in Geneva or worshiping with us online. If you are here on Hamilton Street and need to use the restrooms or need to step out, the back doors and to the right will take you to those. And the TVs you saw on the way in also broadcast our services if you need to step out and watch from there. Tonight we gather in this simple yet stark, reflective form of worship, reflecting on what Jesus endured on Good Friday. It invites us to also experience what Jesus did in his final hours as we, humanity, sought to extinguish the very light of the world. This short service will include singing and prayer, along with readings and monologues, and you'll find what you need to participate on the screen, though if you are someone who likes to read music, you'll find that in your hymn books, but the lyrics will be on the screen. Tonight's service will end a lot like Good Friday did, with a bit of stunning silence. When I leave, and the screen will also say, that'll be your cue to know that the service has concluded, and you're welcome to leave at your own pace, though you may remain in silent prayer for as long as you like. I and my colleagues will be nearby until the last person leaves. If you want someone to join with you in prayer, please let us know. When you do choose to leave, please do so quietly so that others might enjoy the silence until we gather again for the celebration of Easter in our respective congregations. Now, if it is comfortable for you to do so, I invite you to rise in spirit and stand in body for our responsive call to worship, as you'll find on the screen. God is light, in whom there is no darkness at all. Jesus Christ is the light of the world. And this is the judgment, that the light has come into the world, and we love darkness rather than light. Let us join in our opening hymn, Ah, Holy Jesus. It's 289, verses 1, 2, and 4.
Crucified me. For thy bitter passion for my salvation.
You may be seated. We'll hear Mark's account of Good Friday from chapter 15. They compelled a passerby who was coming in from the country to carry his cross. It was Simon of Cyrene, the father of Alexander and Rufus. And when they brought Jesus to the place called Golgotha, which means place of the skull, they offered him wine mixed with myrrh, but he did not take it. And they crucified him and divided his clothes amongst them, casting lots to decide what each should take. It was 9 o'clock in the morning when they crucified him. The inscription of the charge against him read, "The King of the Jews." And with him they crucified 2 rebels, one on his right and one on his left. Those who passed by derided him, shaking their heads and saying, "Aha, you who would destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, save yourself. Come down from the cross." In the same way, the chief priests, along with the scribes, were also mocking him among themselves and saying to each other, "He saved others. Can't he save himself? Let the Messiah, the King of Israel, come down from the cross now so that we may see and believe." Those who were crucified with him also taunted him. When it was noon, darkness came over the whole land until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. At 3 o'clock, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, "Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani," which means, my God, why have you forsaken me?" When some of the bystanders heard it, they said, "Listen, he is calling for Elijah." And someone ran and filled a sponge with sour wine, put it on a stick, gave it to him to drink, saying, "Wait, let us see whether Elijah will come and take him down." Then Jesus gave a loud cry and breathed his last. And the curtain of the temple was torn in two, from top to bottom. Now when the centurion who stood facing him saw this, and when he saw he breathed his last, he said, "Truly, this man was God's Son." May God add a blessing to the reading, hearing, and understanding of the Scriptures. Amen. We begin our service of Tenebrae called "I Was There."
Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they crucified my Lord?
Yes, I was there. I was there throughout the whole ordeal. But I was with him all along, right from the very beginning. I was with him in the wilderness. It was I who said, "If you be the Son of God, command that these stones be turned into bread." I was trying to convince him even then that he was a fool for believing that he was the promised one, that he could have any effect on humankind and its destiny. But he was too strong for me then. He pushed me aside and began his work, but I am not to be dismissed that easily. I followed him and I attacked him again and again, but I went about it in a different way. I lashed out at him through his followers, those who came to hear his teachings. But again, I failed, for his words warmed even the saddest of hearts. The blind received their sight, and the lame walked, and the dead returned to life. But I was not to be outdone. I remained with his followers, and some of them I won. Through my efforts, some of them sought ways to trap him, discredit him, and finally destroy him. I even worked my way into his circle of friends. I convinced one of them to betray him. It took a lot of doing, but I had him right where I wanted him. Because of me, he said, "Let this cup pass from me." You see, he was wondering if it had to be this way. He was doubting the climax of his mission. Yes, he knew that I was there. He had seen my presence in the faces of his followers, and once again, he was feeling my attempt to surround him. I am doubt, and I was there. I was there, but I failed to destroy him. Once again, he dismissed me with, "Not my will, but thine be done." I was there, but he overcame me.
I am sorrow, and I was there. Believe me, I was there. I too attacked him with a vengeance. Many have fallen from the broken heart that I inflict, but not this one. Many have abandoned their goals, their hopes and dreams, and have chosen to live in self-pity. But again, he did not. I did my best to defeat him. I reminded him constantly that he was unwanted in this world. I came to him as rejection, scorn, and ridicule. I tried to tell him that he was ridiculous for loving those who did not want him. I did my best, but I too failed. Oh, I brought him plenty of heartache. I caused tears to fill his eyes on many occasions, but I couldn't break him. I couldn't even make him feel sorry for himself. Even as he was struggling under this cross, his thoughts were on others. He said, "Daughters of Jerusalem, weep not for me, but for yourselves and your children." I inflicted myself heavily upon him, but I couldn't destroy him.
I am fear, and I was there. I literally surrounded him. I was with him in the garden. It was I who placed those great drops of sweat upon his forehead. I danced at him and the soldiers' flaming torches, and I winked at him in the glistening of their swords and spears. I was present in every crack of the whip, and I was in the descending hammer that drove the nails into his hands and feet. I was quite effective against his disciples. One of them denied even knowing him, and they all ran like frightened children. I felt certain that I could destroy him. I longed to hear his voice beg for mercy. I longed to hear him promise to leave the country and abandon his foolish mission. I longed to hear this, but he remained silent. He refused to defend himself. He refused to retract anything he had said. To be sure, he felt my presence, but I couldn't destroy him. I have failed.
Were you there when they nailed him to the tree? Were you there when they nailed him to the tree? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they crucified my Lord?
I am shame, and I too was there. Perhaps I failed because he was so used to me by now. I've been with him since his birth. I was the manger, the king's cradle. I was beside him in Nazareth when his friends and neighbors ran him out of town as a false prophet. I was in the sneering faces of the tormentors. I was the crown of thorns around his head. I was in the dice that the soldiers threw as they gambled for his clothing. I was in the sign that they hung over his head. I was in the cross itself, making it heavier step by step by step as he carried it. I was there, but I couldn't break his spirit.
I was there, and I didn't let him forget my presence for 1 minute. I burned into his forehead with the thorns. I caused the sweat to trickle into his lash marks. I caused him to fall with weariness under the burden of his cross. Then I attacked him as brutally as I could. I ran across his body as the nails pierced his flesh. I caused his tongue to swell and burn with thirst. I beat upon him with the hot rays of the sun, causing his body to dehydrate. As I was increasing my attack to its strongest, I leapt for joy. I thought I had succeeded. I heard him cry, my God, why?" But my celebration was premature, for with his final words, he entrusted himself into his Father's hands. I am Agony, and I afflicted him greatly, but I, too, failed to destroy him.
I was there, and how I hated him. But you see, I hate everybody, for I am hate. I do my job well, and I intended to destroy this teacher of love, and I tried. Believe me, I tried. But what were the results? He said, "Father, forgive." I couldn't even make him hate that miserable wretch hanging beside him who asked for mercy. He wouldn't curse his tormentors. He wouldn't curse his father. And worst of all, he wouldn't even curse himself for going through with this foolish endeavor. Oh, how I hated him. But I couldn't make him hate me. He is my greatest failure of all time.
Were you there when they pierced him in the side? Were you there when they pierced him in the side? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they crucified my Lord?
Yeah, I was there. And unlike my colleagues, I did not fail. Sooner or later, every man falls beneath my power. And this man was no different from the rest. He made a lot of grand promises. He called himself the resurrection and the life. Today, I proved that even he must submit to my eternal darkness. I proved that the peace, joy, and love that he spoke will melt away in my presence. Tonight, I reign victorious, and he lies defeated. He lies still, very still. Like a crippled army at the end of a war. Well, this war is over, and I have won. I am death. And the victory is mine. Oh my